Hey Thrivers, today I'm talking about how to stop letting other people take advantage of you. Okay, this is something that I hear about a lot in my face-to-face coaching, and I'm hoping to give you some tools so that whether or not somebody takes advantage of you becomes something that's in your control instead of feeling like it's something that you have no control over. Okay, so for those that don't know me, my name is Michele. I'm a life and relationship coach, and I'm the founder of the Thriver School of Transformation, which is an interactive monthly membership where we meet live weekly and we learn how to put everything I talk about on my channel into practice in our daily life. So if that's something that can benefit you, make sure you check out the link in the description box below. Okay, so people taking advantage. All right, I hear this so often that, you know, people that wind up in toxic relationships with narcissists or one-sided relationships with friends or even family members, there are a few things that they have in common. So as I'm going over these things, kind of self-evaluate and see if any of them resonate with you. What I found is that most people that wind up getting taken advantage of, they feel responsible for other people's feelings. In other words, sometimes they want to say no to something, but they're afraid that person's going to get upset or mad. Or sometimes they want to ask for help, but they're afraid the other person's going to get mad. So again, they're so afraid of what the other person, how the other person is going to feel or respond, that they refrain from the healthy behaviors that teach people that we expect reciprocal relationships. They put their value in the hands of other people. In other words, they may have a lack of self-worth, right? They may have a very low self-esteem, but they tend to feel worthy if somebody else validates them or, you know, points out their worth. So they're dependent on how others view them in order to feel good about themselves. It's almost like they're regulating themselves dependent on another person's viewpoint. Interesting way to think about it. And again, this comes from being in relationships. It could be parents, it could be long-term romantic relationships where somebody didn't allow you to see yourself as you really are and constantly made you feel like unless they agree with you, then you weren't allowed to see yourself that way. So you lose the ability to see your own value unless it's coming from external measures. Unfortunately, toxic people can pick up on that. And anytime they want you to do more than is good for you, they'll just poke at that wound and make you feel like, oh, it's because you're not this enough. And once that enough wound makes somebody almost like a robot, just get up and do whatever they want, the other person wants, so that they don't feel the pain of that wound. Okay, so toxic people can spot your wound like a shark does blood, right? They can spot it from miles away, and unfortunately, they'll exploit it. Something else that I notice is that they feel very uncomfortable in the discomfort of others. So let's say they want to do something that's important to them, right? And this time it's their decision. If they're going to choose the movie, I'm going to use something simple, right? But the other person kind of acts unhappy. Maybe they don't say anything. They might even say, yep, so that's the movie you picked, huh? I wouldn't have picked that movie, but you know, you picked it, so I guess that's what we're gonna watch. And they just show a little bit of dislike, a little bit of discomfort. And if you haven't learned to be comfortable in the discomfort of others, then that will often cause a person to let go of what they want, forget about their wants and needs, and put the other person's wants and needs first, which again is going to make them feel taken advantage of. Something else they do is they put themselves last on their own list of priorities. So I see this a lot with parents, right? They'll put their kids first, second, third, fourth, all the way up until ninth place, and they're at the bottom. And a lot of parents that do this, their children grow up and they'll say things in my face-to-face coaching, they'll say things like, why don't they appreciate me? Look at everything I've done for them. Why do they take such advantage of me? Like, I give so much, they give nothing back. And this is a hard one. This is a hard one because I know that as a parent, you want to give your child everything you never had, especially if you came from a home where you weren't treated well. It's almost like we go overboard to give to our kids. But we have to be careful, because if you're giving, 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 and you're not teaching your child that your time matters, that your needs matter, that your preferences matter as well, then they will view you as if your time doesn't matter, your needs don't matter, and your preferences don't matter. If they don't matter to you, without realizing it, you're teaching your kids to view you that way. But then that goes into the challenge of boundaries. And when we put down boundaries, that touches on a wound when somebody gets upset with you. If your children get upset because you're putting down a healthy boundary, that might touch on the wound, I'm a bad mom, or I'm a bad dad because my kid is mad at me. And some people may look at that and be like, that's silly, Michele, but I'm sorry. I felt that way at one time when I didn't really understand how important boundaries were. I had to teach myself that boundaries were good, and I had to teach myself that it was okay if my child was upset because I put down a boundary that did not reflect on me being a bad parent. If anything, I'm being a good parent, because I'm caring enough to put down a healthy boundary to teach them how to be their best selves. Okay, so if any of those scenarios resonate with you and you're tired of people taking advantage of you, then the first thing you have to start doing is you have to stop taking advantage of yourself. You have to learn characteristics and qualities that help you to be assertive, that help you to have healthy boundaries, that help you to speak your truth, that help you to be authentic, even if other people act like they don't like it or they're upset about it. And it takes a little bit of time to do those things, but it is so worth it. The more autonomous you become, the more you take care of you, and you make sure that nobody takes advantage of you. Because when we think about, oh, everyone takes advantage of me, it makes us sound helpless, like we have no choice. But we do. If we develop these qualities, then we are responsible. We take some responsibility to make sure that people treat us right. And I will warn you, when you start to have healthier behaviors, you're going to find out that some of the friendships that you have might fall apart. You might find a romantic relationship falls apart. The person doesn't like it. In my coaching, I'll get people that say, but Michele, if I have that boundary, if I have a healthy boundary, he or she won't like it. And I have to ask them, well, do you like it? Do you think that that's reasonable in a relationship? And they're always like, yeah, that's reasonable, but the person doesn't like it. So we really have to learn that it's okay for people to be upset. It's okay for people to be disappointed. And it's still okay for us to hold on to what is important to us as well. If you strengthen those characteristics, then you will have healthier relationships. And if you need help, I always end my videos saying this, if you need more help than the videos, make sure you check out the Thriver School of Transformation. The link is in the description below. It's an awesome place with an amazing international group of people. We meet live weekly on Zoom, and we learn how to put all of these things into practice in our daily lives.